is a presentation of HBO Sports.
A former three-division champion who has taken on all comers from 140 to 154 pounds. Miguel Cotto is one of the biggest names in boxing and has a Hall of Fame resume to show for it. But the 32-year-old star hit a speed bump in 2012, losing back-to-back fights for the only time in his storied career. First, he gave pound-for-pound king Floyd Mayweather his fiercest competition in years.
Big shots! What a determined effort by Miguel Cotto!
Before ultimately falling short. Then last December, a disappointing effort against then 154-pound title holder Austin Trout. Now Cotto aims to get his career back on track with a new addition in his corner. He's teamed up with five-time Trainer of the Year Freddie Roach. And tonight they seek a victory over veteran Delvin Rodriguez to prove that the Puerto Rican great still has what it takes. Also tonight from Moscow, Russia, heavyweight champion Wladimir Klitschko looks to continue his long run atop the division. He puts his championship on the line against unbeaten hometown hero Alexander Povetkin. It's a long-awaited matchup of fellow Olympic gold medalist fighting for heavyweight supremacy. Plus fast-rising lightweight star Terence Crawford, undefeated over 21 fights. The Nebraska native is a pure boxer whose skills will be put to the test against undefeated Russian Andrei Klimov. It's an action-packed triple header. World Championship Boxing is next. Welcome to another edition of World Championship Boxing. We're coming to you with triple header action from the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida. And we'll start things off with the long-awaited heavyweight title fight between Wladimir Klitschko, preeminent big man in the sport, and undefeated gold medal winner Alexander Povetkin. It took place earlier today in Moscow, and we'll bring it to you momentarily. Following Klitschko-Povetkin, another look at rising lightweight star Terence Crawford, who is in tough against fellow undefeated up-and-comer Andrei Klimov of Russia. And then it's our main event, featuring future Hall of Famer Miguel Cotto taking on Delvin Rodriguez. So settle in now for a big-time night at the fights. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Lampley. Welcome to this triple header edition of HBO's World Championship Boxing. I'll be joined as the evening progresses at ringside by Max Kellerman and Roy Jones. First, we're going to take you to Moscow to see what happened earlier today in the battle between Wladimir Klitschko and Alexander Povetkin. And then when we come here, we'll get a glimpse of Terence Crawford as he continues to try to develop his possible Star Trek career at lightweight, followed by the main event, which features the return of Miguel Cotto. Cotto is one of those rare commodities, a proven pay-per-view attraction in boxing. After two consecutive losses for the first time in his career, he's looking to stay in the sport and looking for another big pay-per-view date. He's mentioned as a possible opponent for Canelo Alvarez when Canelo Alvarez comes back to action after his loss to Floyd Mayweather, or possibly to move up to middleweight and fight Sergio Martinez for that crown. But logic tells you that none of that is possible unless he can look good against star journeyman Delvin Rodriguez tonight, and that's what's at stake when we get to the main event. But first, as we told you, we're going to take you to Moscow for the long-awaited battle between Wladimir Klitschko and Alexander Povetkin. Quickly now, let's look at the tale of the tape. And these are big men. Of course, Klitschko has dominated the heavyweight division for quite some time, along with his brother Vitaly. You see the 3-year age advantage for Povetkin, 4-inch height advantage for Klitschko, a 2-inch arm length advantage measured from the armpit to the end of the fist. Could be very significant because, of course, Klitschko's jab is the dominant weapon in the heavyweight division. And he has a 16-pound weight advantage entering the ring. The fight took place at Moscow's Olympic Stadium before an expected crowd of 35,000 plus. Let's go there now to see what happens.
Good luck and God bless. It's been a long time since there's been a heavyweight title fight. There have been heavyweight title performances by the Klitschko brothers, but not fights. If Povetkin is to be successful tonight, he needs to turn this into a fight.
Who among us would have thought 10 years ago, when Wladimir went down so ignominiously against Lehman Brewster, and then in his next fight was knocked down by DeBarrel Williamson, that he would become a dominant, long-reigning heavyweight champion of the kind he has been.
And so far has been forced to clinch twice within 15 seconds.
Well, that's the smartest fight for Povetkin. That lets you know he's not out there to joke around. He's out there to try to win. And he's fighting the smartest fight that he can fight right now.
He made a nice little move, weaving the jab and hook to the body inside.
And landed a left hook. And now Wladimir lands a left hook as Povetkin comes in toward him. So clearly Wladimir will have seen now that Povetkin plans to try to get inside and attack. And it'll be his job to, number one, tie Povetkin up when he gets inside, and number two, try to pick him off with his jab and his power punches as Povetkin advances.
Povetkin definitely has the right idea. I don't know how long he'll sustain it, but he definitely is fighting the right fight.
Being aggressive.
He's won the first minute of the first round, which is more than most Klitschko opponents can say.
And he had to have Wladimir thinking.
Now Wladimir starts to get the jab going. That's the weapon with which he has architected most of his victories over the years.
And he's starting to time Povetkin's hook, blocking it with his right arm. And that jab is a nice, hard jab down the middle from Klitschko.
Jab lands again for Klitschko.
You can't let him get that jab going, because then he gets the right hand happening behind it. That's not a good sight.
One of the best I've ever seen at throwing the right hand right behind the jab, Roy, Klitschko is.
And that came once he started working with Emanuel Stewart. That's when Emanuel really made him a much better and much more dangerous fighter.
Teaching him many of the lessons he had previously taught to Lennox Lewis.
Exactly.
How to fight tall, how to use your height, how to work behind your jab, how to protect your chin by using your offensive weapons to mount a defense.
And he uses his arms so good for defense. That's what's causing Povetkin the biggest problem right now.
Klitschko has also won the second minute of the first round by a much wider margin than Povetkin won the first. Scoring will be interesting tonight, Jim, as you mentioned, in Russia. Does Klitschko get credit for outboxing Povetkin?
That's the punch that Povetkin has to land right there. That overhand right. That is definitely the biggest punch he can land if he's lucky in this fight. If I were him, I would be looking to take away the jab and throw the overhand right.
Klitschko landed a left hook. And you're saying, oh, Roy, because?
Well, I thought it may have hurt Povetkin, but he threw him down, so I can't tell.
Yeah.
But the left hook was a big left hook right on the button.
Yep. And that last left hook shot may have sealed the first round for Klitschko, although it was a closer round than Wladimir is accustomed to experience.
Yeah, he won it, though it remains to be seen if he won it in Moscow.
He see Klitschko constantly landing that jab repeatedly, brother. And he feints the jab and comes around with the hook. That was the best punch of the fight so far. I thought that punch may have hurt Povetkin a little bit, but you can't tell because Klitschko leaned all of his weight on him and then threw him to the canvas.
CompuBox numbers in round one found Klitschko landing 8 of 29 to 6 of 28 for Povetkin. Now Jonathan Banks talks to his fighter in the corner. Six of the 8 Klitschko connects in the round were jabs, but to distinguish jabs from power punches with Klitschko may be a tiny bit misleading because his left jab is so strong and so assertive that it functions like a power punch.
It's just like getting hit with a hook or a left uppercut.
And Klitschko's punches all landed cleanly. Povetkin maybe landed 2 or 3 clean shots against Klitschko.
I'm not sure. So.
Yeah, but this is what Povetkin has to do to win the fight. He can't worry about hitting him clean every time. He's a short guy. He just has to get close and get his hands on Klitschko.
Referee Luis Pabon breaking them again. Already Pabon's had a lot of work to do in the first 2 rounds. And looks like Pabon will have to go to work one more time.
And I have a very good friend in Moscow by the name of Nikolai who manages Povetkin, and he always tries to get nothing but the best for Povetkin. So I would imagine that Povetkin is prepared to the best that he could be for a fight like this.
Well, we mentioned that he tried to hire Freddie Roach as his trainer, was declined by Roach, hired Alexander Zimin, a former coach of the Russian amateurs, who started as a professional trainer back in the 1990s. There was talk of the possibility that Kostya Tszyu, who had trained Povetkin for 2 previous fights, would also join the corner for this fight. Tszyu is seated at ringside. Povetkin got in a left hook, and now through the right, but it landed behind Klitschko's head.
Povetkin's fighting a smart fight, not only weaving the jab and throwing that hook up and downstairs, but trying that quick overhand right, Roy, to catch the taller fighter, although Klitschko's been deflecting it on his shoulder so far. And
that's the punch that has to land. He has to land that overhand right. If he can land the overhand right, he'll get the job done. But he got to land it quick. See Zab Super Judo sitting next to my friend Nikolai and his son Sasha at ringside.
The ref warning Klitschko for pushing down. Klitschko correctly saying, look, the guy's on the inside, putting his arms around me.
That overhand right came a lot closer that time. If he can land that overhand right, I'd like to see what happens.
He's making Klitschko look quite uncomfortable here in round 2. And the strategy of simply going at Wladimir with power punches rather than trying to box him seems to have thrown Wladimir just a little bit off.
Well, Jim, that's the only strategy to go at the taller, longer arm guy with. You got to go at him with the intentions to get him out of there. No sense to outbox him.
That was a jab.
He knocked Povetkin down with a jab. That is a knockdown in round 2, and that was a perfect example of a pure knockdown with a clean jab. He just stuck it in his face and knocked him on his back.
I compared him to Larry Holmes at the top of the show, Jim, and he has that kind of jab.
And now the round has ended, but Wladimir Klitschko takes an early edge on the scorecards as the result of a knockdown in round 2. First time in Povetkin's entire career, amateur or professional, that he's been knocked down.
Yeah, I think this short, jab right on the button. No, that wasn't it. Oh, that was a good right hand. It was more of a hook. There it is. Yes, what I thought it was a very short hook that caused the damage. That's what he hit him with early in the round when I said, whoa. So that's what caused the problem.
Klitschko throws the hook so short and perfectly, it looks like a jab to the naked eye.
Because he's so big and his arms are so long. It's so easy for him to turn the jab into a hook. That's the most devastating thing about it.
And let's see if the knockdown will now calm Klitschko down just a little bit. He's looked a tiny bit skittish in the first couple of rounds as the result of Povetkin's hyper-aggressive strategy early. Punches in round 2 by CompuBox. 8 out of 25 for Klitschko, 4 of 20 for Povetkin.
Another heavyweight champion of the past who was able to do that is Sonny Liston. Really heavy jab, could turn it into a hook when he wanted, and Klitschko there did the same thing and scored the knockdown.
Well, Klitschko's height makes it so much better for him. He's so tall that you can't tell, you can't really gauge the range of his hook. You can't tell how far, how close he's capable of landing it from.
Povetkin arouses the Russian fans with another one of those frontal assaults. Got in a couple of body shots.
The hook has been Klitschko's power weapon in this fight. Maybe the most effective punch is jab, but that's the set that he's twice rocked Povetkin with that short hook.
Hasn't yet landed a right hand.
No, but that was a good body shot by Povetkin at the end of that exchange.
Another quick left by Klitschko as Povetkin tries to move by.
Povetkin can't allow himself to wait on Klitschko. He has to go at Klitschko first. If he waits, it allows Klitschko to land that jab and then turn it into a hook.
And Povetkin's at his best so far tonight. He's using Klitschko's offense against him, weaving the jab in order to get inside, sort of like Mike Tyson used to do.
And I'll tell you what, he's throwing some very meaningful punches right now. If he's able to land one of these punches, I'd like to see how Klitschko responds to it.
Because, of course, for as long as Wladimir fights, the question about his chin will remain.
Will always be there.
Particularly in today's heavyweight era, though it may be relatively weak. These guys are so big and strong. A small heavyweight like Povetkin, 225 pounds. That if they land cleanly, something's going to happen.
Yeah, that was a bad right hand by Klitschko. Povetkin can't allow himself to get caught with that punch too often.
Wladimir landed the 1-2 as he quickly brought in the right behind the jab there. Using the right arm a lot for defense, though, to try to ward off these left hooks that Povetkin is throwing. And
Povetkin is really fighting a very smart fight here. This is the only chance that you have against a guy as tall and long as Klitschko. You have to try to gamble to hit him. You can't wait on him.
Another little left hook landed for Povetkin.
Povetkin's starting to look a little bit more confident here too, Jim.
Klitschko tried that little hook again, and that time missed.
You are looking at taped action from this afternoon in Moscow, and now here's a live look at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida, where we'll be bringing you immediately following the conclusion of Klitschko and Povetkin for 2 live fights. First, Terence Crawford against Andre Klimov in the lightweight division, and then Miguel Cotto against Delvin Rodriguez. Remember the Miguel Cotto who stared down Ricky Torres in a gunfight in Atlantic City in 2005. Remember the Miguel Cotto who broke Carlos Quintana in half with a body shot in 2006. Or the Miguel Cotto who beat Zab Judah and Shane Mosley back-to-back at Madison Square Garden in 07. That's what new trainer Freddie Roach will be looking for tonight as Cotto tries to prove himself after 2 consecutive losses against Delvin Rodriguez of the Dominican Republic and Connecticut. Rodriguez is a happy man to have this opportunity against Klitschko after years of being a highly entertaining fighter in showcases such as ESPN's Friday Night Fights. He comes in off of knockouts over George Taduanipa and Freddie Hernandez, but those guys aren't Miguel Cotto. We'll see what happens here when we come back to Orlando. Now let's return to our taped look back at Klitschko-Povetkin in Moscow. CompuBox numbers through 3. Klitschko 29 of 90, Povetkin 20 of 84. Klitschko with a 13-10 landed punch advantage in the third. Harold Letterman, how do you have it scored so far?
Okay, Jim, I've got it 30-26. 3 rounds to nothing, Wladimir Klitschko. You got to give him an extra point for the knockdown in round 2. You know, Jim, I got to tell you, Louis Pabon lets him get away with an awful lot. I mean, I love Wladimir as a fighter, but, you know, when you measure a guy, you can't open up that boxing glove, and he does it very often, and he pushes Povetkin off. And also, he pushes his head down when Povetkin does manage to get inside. Anyway, 3-0, Wladimir Klitschko.
I can just imagine Pabon saying, Harold, can't you see I'm busy enough trying to break up all these clinches?
And I could also imagine at least one judge having it 2 rounds to 1 Povetkin even on the scorecards because of Klitschko's knockdown.
That's what Povetkin can't allow to happen. He can't allow Klitschko to hit him with that jab repeatedly. Klitschko is definitely getting fatigued here, though.
Well, fatigue is one question about Povetkin. In the latter rounds of his fight against cruiserweight Marco Huck, he was nearly out on his feet, seemingly exhausted, and Huck was dominating him in the late rounds. So there's some question here about how difficult it might be for Povetkin to go 12 if that turns out to be the case against Klitschko's height, reach, and power.
I think the hardest thing for Povetkin is keeping Klitschko's weight off of his neck like he's doing. Yep. Every time they get close like that right there, Klitschko is hitting with an undershot that the referee can't see, and he's leaning on him, all of his weight on Povetkin's neck.
You saw Wladimir trying to shoot a right hand there, tried to shoot another right hand there, as Wladimir is becoming just a tiny bit more aggressive here in round 4.
And Klitschko is doing the smart thing, leaning with his weight on the back of Povetkin's neck. That's what tall fighters are taught to do on the inside, to wear down the shorter and more aggressive fighters. But I agree with you, Roy. Klitschko at the end of the last round and through this round seems like there's a little energy drain to him compared to the first couple rounds.
Yes, he does. He seems like he's lost a lot. in this short period of time.
That right hand, for example, came in a little more sloppy than it did earlier in the fight the few times he threw it.
And Povetkin has to do something to get it. There you go, to get it, momentum here, because Klitschko, if he gets comfortable, it'll be very difficult to deal with him.
Before Emmanuel took over his career, right around this point in the fight is when Klitschko sometimes would run into trouble. It looked like was hurt as much by a stamina issue at this point in the fight as he was by actual punches.
And that's why I say right now it's a chance that Povetkin needs to do something. If Povetkin can make something happen right now, it would be big for him.
But keep in mind that Wladimir paces himself a great deal more now than was the case 10 years ago when he ran into stamina problems, first against Ross Purity and then against Lehman Brewster. At that time,
Sam Peter as well.
60, 70 punches per round, way over the normal heavyweight average. He doesn't do that anymore.
Much more relaxed now, in addition.
You're not going to the body. Okay? Shorten that right hand up. You can get the right hand. Just shorten it up. Keep looking for it. That's why you got to adjust him with the jab. Jab to the body, jab to the head.
They see Klitschko landing that jab. Up jab. Oh, Povetkin came over the top of the up jab with the right hand, though. And that's what Povetkin needs to do more of. Once again, that same jab right to the top of the head is causing Povetkin all types of problems. He can't allow Klitschko to throw that jab.
Once Klitschko landed the jab, as you saw, the Povetkin right-hand throw was meaningless because he never had the range to get it there.
Yeah, the jab offsets everything.
Jim, you're 100% right. The Klitschko jab is a power punch.
Jabs through 4. Klitschko 30 out of 95, 32%. Povetkin 13 of 43. Klitschko with an 11-8 advantage in that 4th round. So the numbers are lining up on Wladimir's side, but of course, judges at ringside aren't cognizant of those numbers, not available to them, not a part of how they score the fight. Wladimir landing a couple of jabs and Povetkin tapping him over the top with the right hand.
Yeah, he finally touched him, Jim. If he can touch him a few more times with that right hand, it could be bad. It could get ugly.
But in order to get close enough to throw the right hand and land, he has to put himself in harm's way with the jab. Wladimir's landed the jab 3 or 4 times here early in round number 5.
Yeah, once you step in the ring with Wladimir, you're in reach of his jab.
Even at 20 by 20.
Yes.
You're at reach of his jab if you're sitting on your couch somewhere in this country right now watching this.
Russian crowd trying to lift Povetkin. There's another example of Wladimir pressing down, and another one here. Wladimir pressing down on Povetkin's shoulders and neck, and that tires out not just the upper body, but the legs as well of the fighter who's on the underside.
And here the ref is right if he stops and really gives Klitschko a hard warning, because now the strategy is every time Povetkin gets in, I'm going to lean on his neck, push him down, not even attempt to throw a punch, and it's whether or not Povetkin is holding.
That's been the strategy since round 1.
He's using it excessively, I think, at this point.
He was using it excessively in round 1 as well.
And as you guys both pointed out, it comes out of the Emmanuel Stewart playbook. It was something that Emmanuel originally taught to Lennox Lewis. Lennox, like Wladimir, would hold you down and keep you in jail and tire you out when you fought him. Wladimir does the same thing.
I tell you what, Wladimir is in a bad place right now. If Povetkin ever was to win the fight, it would be right now. Now would be the chance to take it, because Wladimir is really not comfortable. Look at his breathing. Look at his rhythm. He's not comfortable in this fight.
He's landing one punch at a time. He's no longer throwing combinations. It's one jab and hold for Klitschko at this moment. And you hear the crowd beginning to whistle and boo as they are disapproving of Wladimir's over-the-top holding method.
The only good thing for Wladimir is that he's doing it first, which means he's getting off first. And with him getting off first, it's less likely that he'll be caught.
And you see Wladimir's experience on the inside. As you mentioned, Roy, that free hand whipping a little uppercut on the inside, turning his head and putting it on the shoulder where Povetkin can't hit him.
Now, coming between rounds, a glimpse at something that comes up October 19, immediately following Alvarado and Provodnikov from Denver, the Gaddy Ward documentary.
Vicious body shot by Gaddy as Mickey Ward pounds away. should be the round of the century.
We were quite aware that we were watching something genuinely special, memorable, perhaps historic.
You're part of something that people will never forget.
We could see this bond starting to form.
It was just special to go through with someone like him. Out of trying to kill each other, we became one.
Mickey Ward.
He's got a heart. He fought a hell of a fight.
I fought a total 3 times, my last 3 fights, and
I made a friend for life.
There have been other great love stories in boxing. This may be the greatest of them all. Legendary Nights looks back at the Gaddy Ward trilogy, and most especially that great first fight, October 19, immediately following our World Championship Boxing telecast of Mike Alvarado and Ruslan Provodnikov from Denver, Alvarado's hometown. You see the Harold Letterman scorecard through 5. Wladimir Klitschko building his lead. There was a knockdown in the second round, thus the 50-44 after 5 rounds on Harold Letterman's unofficial scorecard. 3 official scorers scoring at ringside in Moscow. 2 of them are Americans. And the third is from Belgium.
Klitschko doing a smart thing. Every time he gets Povetkin down under his weight, he throws an uppercut from the bottom that the ref really can't see.
On the opposite side of the ref.
Yes.
And then puts his head on Povetkin's shoulder where Povetkin can't reach him with a shot.
Now it looks like Klitschko may be getting a second win. See that shot right there? But Povetkin blocked it.
Lennox Lewis all but knocked Michael Grant out with an uppercut just like that in Madison Square Garden a long time ago.
Holding the head with the left hand and whacking him with the right uppercut.
Brilliantly.
And the ref hasn't seen it yet.
But this is also why Wladimir Klitschko hasn't made a ton of fans in this country, at least not commensurate with the dominance of his title reign. Last couple rounds have been sloppy looking, not really pretty to watch, not really in sustained action.
Mechanical, not fluid. Shortage of fans in Russia at this moment, too, it would appear, based on the crowd noise we're hearing. Povetkin, to me, beginning to look a little bit discouraged. I don't see the same kind of assertive energy that we saw in rounds 3 and 4.
Well, I just would like to see more right hands. The right hand will be the punch for him, not necessarily the left hook, because Klitschko keeps the right hand of his own up too high for Povetkin to land the left hook. So he needs to throw more right hands if he wants to land a big knockout shot. There it is right there.
There's the right hand shot. Lands over the top for Alexander Povetkin.
But he has to throw more of those. And for Klitschko, he just needs to stay outside and stick to his jab.
One thing about Wladimir, he wants to get hit not at all. Because as we've seen throughout the course of his career, if you hit him, his face marks, and it marks quickly. He gets bruised up and reddened by opposing punches, perhaps more rapidly than almost any fighter I've ever seen. And now we're halfway through the fight.
Some people are thinking, thank God.
And you got the left lip to the body.
Когда боксируешь на ножках, передней рукой отлично. Отлично. Давай ему проваливаться и снова наказывай.
So let him break through again and then punish him again.
That's the key to victory. Keep using the legs, keep using the left hand. As soon as he tie you up, go on, keep walking the back. You making him tired like that. Keep walking the back.
Wladimir Klitschko entered this fight with a record of 60 wins, 3 losses, 52 wins by knockout. He's building up CompuBox edges gradually as the fight progresses against Alexander Povetkin. Harold, how do you score it through 6?
You know, Jim, I've got it 6-0, 60-53, Wladimir Klitschko. But I got to tell you something, Jim. When Alexander Povetkin gets inside, why in heaven's name doesn't he punch with the free hand? You're allowed to punch with your free hand until the referee yells stop, break, or step back. Okay? Povetkin gets inside and throws nothing. Nothing. He's not even trying. I would get inside of him.
There's a hard 1-2 by Klitschko, and he throws Povetkin to the canvas, and Pabone's going to call it a knockdown.
Wow. I see why.
He was on the way down.
But this ref, those worried about home cooking with the officials, so far the ref has done Povetkin no favors.
So that's the second knockdown of the fight, the second knockdown of Povetkin's career. And that was the most solid 1-2 combination that Wladimir has landed in the fight.
Yeah, that's because he has Povetkin waiting on him now. Povetkin can't wait on him.
There's another right hand, and Povetkin might have gone down had he not been able to grab and hold on to Wladimir's arm. Povetkin is tiring, and Wladimir is hurting him with every punch at this moment.
Although he's doing it at Povetkin's distance.
And now there's another knockdown. So Pabon counts again. 2 knockdowns in this round. And at this point, Povetkin's getting beaten up and falling farther behind on the scorecards.
Only because he's waiting on Klitschko. If he kept going to Klitschko first, he wouldn't be having these problems. But he's allowing Klitschko to bring the fight to him. You can't let the tall man bring the fight to you like that.
Left hook lands, and Povetkin is staggered again and holding on. That was a beautiful quick left hook inside by Wladimir Klitschko.
He's beating up Povetkin on the inside, which is where Povetkin should be doing his work. But Povetkin is doing something to make Wladimir feel, there the short left hook on the inside again.
And there's the third knockdown of the round and the fourth knockdown of the fight. And Povetkin wants to argue about it, but he is getting ripped in round number 7.
He's more fatigued than anything, though, Jim.
I think his legs are gone because of all the holding on the back that Klitschko has been able to do for him.
And I agree with you 100%.
Wladimir Klitschko very cleverly took away Alexander Povetkin's legs by constantly taking advantage of Povetkin's bull rushes to the inside to get over the top of him, get onto his back, and force him down.
Povetkin's done something to take away Klitschko's outside game. He doesn't feel like he can really reach Povetkin out there, but he does feel like he can beat him up on the inside, and he took away Povetkin's inside game with all the leaning.
So for once in his career, Wladimir is stepping in and going into harm's way on the inside to do damage, something we have not often seen in the past. Well, that was a disastrous round for Povetkin.
They see that jab followed by a good right hand, the best right hand of the fight, I think, for Klitschko. I can't say Povetkin was going to go down because Klitschko threw him down, so you can't say he was going to go down from that punch. He's taken some really good punches throughout the fight, like that punch right there, but most of the time that he's gone down, Klitschko didn't allow us to see whether he could take the punch or not. Now he's measuring with the fist, threw a right hand and missed. There's that little short uppercut on the inside, followed by a double left hook, then a push. So we really can't say whether the punches would have put him down or not.
It's the overall package of Klitschko's strength that's putting him down.
Exactly.
It's a super heavyweight against a heavyweight. And as we've seen, for those who once upon a time thought, and many in boxing did, past a certain size, a heavyweight can't be effective. That's just not true. Size is an advantage, almost always.
And the thing about a fighter like Klitschko, as I can remember when I was heavyweight champ, I really did not like the idea because you had to give up so much from a guy so big to get to him. Not that you couldn't get to him, but is it really worth it in the end?
It's 2 different divisions, practically.
Exactly.
See what Povetkin has. Klitschko still doesn't look super sharp in there, and he's giving Povetkin certain chances.
Yeah, he is, and if Povetkin can stick to his game plan, which I think he'll do, he always is going to have a chance to the last bell rings.
You don't see all that many uppercuts throughout Wladimir Klitschko's career, but it's become a weapon for him today, throwing uppercuts on the opposite side of the referee in those moments when he's holding Povetkin down in a clinch. And a moment ago, he got Povetkin to walk straight forward into a right uppercut. So he's showing a little bit more variety in his game than is sometimes the case. We mentioned in the last round, stepping inside to do damage in close quarters.
Yeah, he's doing what most great champions learn how to do. He's making adjustments on the fly. That's what you love to see from any fighter.
And now he's back to flicking his jab.
And I think they should tell Povetkin to use his right hand more rather than his left hand.
They did a dance just there, and Povetkin landed a right hand up high, it looked like, right before that dance happened. I wonder if it hit Klitschko with any effect.
I don't know, but if he threw the right hand behind that jab like that, through the straight right hand, he'd be much more effective, and he definitely would be catching Klitschko more often.
But when you've just been down 3 rounds in the preceding round, you've been down 4 times in the fight, and you're having trouble physically with your opponent, it's hard to think. So if the most comfortable weapon for Povetkin throughout his career is the left hook, he's more likely to throw the left hook.
That's true, but that's what you're supposed to have a corner for.
There's another uppercut from Klitschko.
They're supposed to think for you. They should tell him the left hook is not landing. He's trained and prepared for the left hook. Let's try the right hand.
I think that Klitschko hook catching him on the way in has also dissuaded him from throwing the right hand.
It's doing a lot of damage to him, too. It's making him keep his right hand home more.
I mentioned a couple of rounds ago how easily Klitschko's face gets busted up when he gets hit. It's Povetkin's face which is now beginning to show the damage from the thunder that Klitschko was able to land in the last couple of rounds.
But Povetkin is showing a lot of heart here. He was down 3 times last round, and he's still trying his hardest.
Much more heart than he was given credit for by boxing reporters coming into the fight. Next Saturday night on HBO pay-per-view, it's the welterweight showdown between Timothy Bradley and Juan Manuel Marquez. 1 week later, don't miss Mike Alvarado's 140-pound title defense against fellow super tough guy Ruslan Provodnikov. Fellow super tough guy Ruslan Provodnikov. Provodnikov, of course, is a Russian from Siberia, a far different place from that which produced Povetkin. Look at that. CompuBox tells us that Wladimir Klitschko has not landed a body shot in the fight. I don't think he landed one against David Haye either.
Have you ever seen a fight at this level go this deep into the fight and the winning fighter not land a body shot?
David Haye fight. You know, Wladimir Klitschko's the only fighter I've ever seen who could get away with that. Even Lennox Lewis landed body shots.
I think John Tate did that with Mike Weaver. I think that's why Mike Weaver still had power in the 15th round to knock him out.
So 30 seconds to go in the fight.
Exactly, so that could be good for Povetkin, that he's not going to Povetkin's body.
Right. 10 or 12 body shots could have brought the finish to this already if Wladimir wanted to throw them. But of course, taller guys sometimes don't like to because of the countering.
Now that was a knockdown. The referee didn't call it. That was a knockdown. The jab,
one of those jab turned into hooks.
That was a knockdown. The referee didn't call it, but that was a knockdown.
Well, if he didn't call a knockdown here, then maybe that evens things up for the pushes in the 7th round that may or may not have been knockdowns.
Yeah, his legs buckle off that hook there too. I think his legs are getting weak from all the leaning that Klitschko has done on him.
That's been going on throughout the fight.
Yeah.
Man, the way Klitschko turns that jab into a short hook is really a beautiful thing.
It's devastating and dangerous.
And after having spent a couple of rounds stepping inside to do damage, Klitschko is now backing up, dancing away, and setting up his jab again. Povetkin missed with the left hook. Klitschko landed the left hook.
At least Povetkin threw that hook with
Klitschko
worse intentions than he has in recent rounds.
2 or 3 quick jabs from Klitschko. There's another one. And another one. These shots are very discouraging for Povetkin at this point, but he keeps on coming.
Yeah, he's very determined.
Little right hand for Klitschko. Another little right hand for Klitschko. Thrown without much power.
Yeah, but little punches from Klitschko hurt because he's so big.
If the ref keeps breaking them and telling Klitschko not to do it, but never warns him and threatens to take a point, why would Klitschko ever stop leaning down?
No reason.
He's not.
No reason whatsoever. Referee Luis Pabon has ordained the validity of Wladimir Klitschko leaning on Alexander Povetkin and holding him down like that. That's why it's been happening in every round of the fight.
It can happen from time to time, but when it's every single clinch, and when you're the one initiating the clinch and doing it, there should be a stern warning, at least.
And Max, I must say, I think the same that we said about the reason he's not throwing the right is because the hook is making him keep it at home. I think if he threw the right, it also could make Klitschko keep his left hand at home.
That's a good point.
3 rounds to go in Moscow.
Here you see Klitschko with a sharp little short jab right there, a jab hook once again. Then he did push Povetkin down again, so no, that wasn't a knockdown either. Once again, he pushed him. So I agree with the referee, that wasn't a knockdown. He clearly pushed him. But he's using his weight, his tallness, and his weight to really tire Povetkin out.
With the result being that CompuBox numbers are now tilting heavily in Klitschko's favor. He landed 52% of his shots in the 9th round, 18 out of 34, to only 3 of 20 for Povetkin. The 18 landed punches in round 9, the highest number of the fight so far for Klitschko against a seemingly tiring but still determined Alexander Povetkin. Harold, how do you have it through 9?
Okay, Jim, I got a 9-0, 90-77, Wladimir Klitschko. You know, Jim, he's winning this fight on clean punching. He just constantly, look at that jab, perfectly clean, snaps Povetkin's head back. You know, he's doing it the whole fight. He gets away with murder, just like I said in the 4th round when he leans and pushes Povetkin's head down, and Povetkin doesn't punch with the open hand. But be as it may, Wladimir Klitschko on clean punching, 9-0.
Many top fighters bend the rules, shall we say. Think of Bernard Hopkins or Evander Holyfield, and Wladimir Klitschko is no exception.
If you're going to be allowed to bend the rules in your favor, and the referee is the authority and he's standing right there and does nothing about it, why stop?
Roy, you say Povetkin throwing the right hand can keep Klitschko's left hand at home, much like the reverse is actually the case, the left hand keeping Povetkin's right hand at home. Is that simply an issue of will to throw it? Initiative? What is that?
Will to throw it, but that's what they call be first. When they tell you to be first in boxing, that's what they mean. Whoever's first will usually get that advantage. It's like, just like we're saying, Klitschko using the jab to make him keep his right hand at home. Well, Klitschko is getting off with the jab first. If he got off with the right hand first, it will force Klitschko to keep his left hand at home because of the right hand.
And that's resolved?
Yes. That's why they say be first. That's why if you go to amateur boxing a lot, you hear a lot of guys say, be first, because one or the other is going to happen. Whoever does it first is going to cause the other one to do the opposite. It's not like in football when you're on offense and defense, or basketball, you're on offense and defense all at the same time. So your goal is to put your opponent on defense as quick as possible. If he's blocking or defending, he can't attack with that particular hand. I tell you what, Alexander Povetkin is showing a big heart here.
He's trying everything he can try within extreme limitations.
He's showing one hell of a heart.
Problem for Povetkin is reflected in that graphic. Klitschko is now landing his jab more or less at will. body shots land at the end of the round for Povetkin. It's the most he's had to celebrate in quite a while. Later tonight. Well, here's a look at the Amway Arena in Orlando, Florida, where later tonight, and in fact, coming up in just a few minutes, we'll be bringing you here for live fights. Terrence Crawford versus Andrei Klimov in the lightweight division, and then the return of Miguel Cotto, coming off the first 2-loss streak of his entire career. And some question the wisdom of placing this fight in Orlando, where Cotto himself points out that you have the second largest Puerto Rican population in the United States, behind only New York. And this arena at this moment appears to be almost full. So the choice of Orlando turns out well, as fans turn out to see how Cotto will look in this fight, which is a barometer for the rest of his career. Delvin Rodriguez, the kind of opponent about whom top-ranked matchmakers might openly say, hey, we think he's good enough to provide an entertaining fight, but we don't think he's good enough to beat Miguel Cotto, or we might not have chosen him for this situation. If he is good enough to beat Miguel Cotto tonight, that could conceivably end Cotto's surefire Hall of Fame career. If he's not good enough, then Cotto may go on to more and bigger things. Boxing fans tend to root for that because Cotto has been such a fan-pleasing fighter over the years. So we'll be bringing you here where the main event is Cotto versus Rodriguez very shortly. Meanwhile, let's go back to look back at what happened this afternoon in Moscow in this aesthetically deteriorating fight. Not the most pleasing heavyweight championship bout you've ever seen, right? Only 2 rounds to go.
You need to win this round big.
A good look at Povetkin's deteriorating visage, along with the CompuBox graphics, which shows you that Wladimir Klitschko has landed more punches in every round of the fight. Jabs to this point. Klitschko 79 of 227, Povetkin only 21 of 95. And Klitschko with an overall advantage of landed punches in the 10th round, 16-5. And there, Wladimir gets backed up.
Jabs to the body.
Stumbles. Was unclear if maybe that was balance or he really felt something there.
I think a jab to the body and stepped on his toe.
If you're Povetkin, you saw the graphic. Several rounds in the middle of this fight, 2 punches landed, 3 punches landed, 3 punches landed. Boy, those punches better really count. And in fact, the punches that have counted in this fight have all been from Klitschko, in addition to him outlanding Povetkin by such a wide margin.
Well, I remember an eloquent dissertation during the Hay fight by our Larry Merchant, who at that time said, you know, we're constantly covering Floyd Mayweather with glory because he's so difficult to hit. When is somebody going to say the same thing about Wladimir? But equally difficult to hit.
But Floyd is difficult to hit, standing in the middle of the ring, making you miss, using his legs beautifully, boxing. And Wladimir here is difficult to hit partly because of that, but also because of continuous rules infractions. It's just not as pretty to watch.
Do you think another referee might have enforced this in such a way that it was an entirely different fight?
Probably not. It may have just hastened Povetkin's demise, but
it's not fun to watch.
And nonetheless, it's an infraction of the rules. Oh, good left hook.
Combination by Wladimir Klitschko seemed to wobble Povetkin once again. Klitschko not particularly interested in taking any chances at this point. Allowed Povetkin to wobble.
The first time he tried a 3-punch combination, almost knocked Povetkin out with it.
Oh. Now he pushes Povetkin down. Clearly a push.
Consistently pushes Povetkin down.
Now let's see if, and Pabon is taking a point away from Wladimir Klitschko for pushing.
It's overdue.
Good ruling. He's gotten away with too much tonight.
And that's the biggest thing
right there. Not likely to affect the overall scoring.
Well, that's the biggest thing right there. He constantly hits him and puts his weight on top of him. And there's no way he should be allowed to do that.
But it's up to the referee to stop it.
That's true.
And that's not even what he penalized him for. He was penalizing for the more aggressive motion of pushing him down.
Which has happened 10 times so far tonight.
See that right there? That's what caused That's what hurt Povetkin most in this fight.
And you see Wladimir suddenly worried about a possible disqualification, and he backs away. But 11 rounds are now complete, and we've only got 3 minutes to go in Moscow. And there weren't many among boxing media who even gave Povetkin the chance to go the distance.
Everything he's doing is out of desperation right now. Keep everything smooth. Every time you rush to him and step back. You can see him falling right in the air. Every time you rush to him, step back and shoot a jab. He's falling over every punch he's doing now. Because he's tired. Everything's out of desperation. He's trying to crowd it.
Last round.
Don't get so desperate.
CompuBox numbers entering the final round. Klitschko 134 out of 383. Povetkin 53 of 254. Povetkin averaging 5 connects per round. Klitschko has been able to do a lot of what he wanted to do after withstanding an aggressive early assault from Povetkin, who came at him with spirit and desire.
Yeah, Klitschko seemed to get very comfortable in that last round, and that's not a good thing for Povetkin. And you also got to love the instructions that Jonathan Banks is giving him in the corner, because he's telling him the exact right thing to do. And like you said, if the ref doesn't bother you about it and it's working, then you're probably going to keep doing it.
Jim, you mentioned getting credit for defense. Floyd does, for example. Klitschko doesn't. With those kind of fighters with tremendous defenses, there's always the question, what side of the entertainment line do they walk? Do they provide enough entertainment with what they're doing? Floyd, especially in recent years, the answer is yes, I believe, although not everyone does. And Klitschko in this fight, in spite of all the knockdowns, the answer is no. There's not enough free-flowing action and sustained excitement to make him compelling, at least television at this moment. Against Povetkin tonight, at least.
Minute and a half to go in the fight. Increasingly, it appears that we'll go the distance in Moscow. And Wladimir Klitschko will go through the experience of at least waiting and wondering to see what judges are going to do in a city in which he probably didn't particularly want to stage this fight. Now there's a delay because of loose tape on Povetkin's right glove. Stacey McKinney will come up to cut off the tape. And the bloody-faced Povetkin will go back to the combat with half the round yet to go. Povetkin has been sturdier than some thought he would be.
Much sturdier, gave it a much better effort, and that's the shot he should have been throwing all night right there. Gave it a much better effort than most people thought he would.
Another mark of Klitschko's strength.
Can you imagine?
He slung Povetkin to the canvas with one hand. Can you imagine what?
I thought he was about to take another point away. And then Klitschko would be in danger of being disqualified with 40 seconds left.
That's correct. Klitschko seems to be worried about the DQ already. He's definitely been less aggressive about the holding and throwing since the point was removed.
They both are really nice guys, because in that last clinch where they both just turned around and looked at one another, in this country, I think somebody would have got hit.
Well, Povetkin was quoted this week as saying, I believe Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus are all one country, and frankly, I've spent years rooting for Wladimir because to me, he's a Slavic brother. Not many Russians in the crowd feel the same way.
And a dominant heavyweight champion, but not an exciting fighter tonight.
we have the mild suspense, mild at best in this instance, of waiting to hear the official decision. The chance for anything quite unusual made more remote by the fact that Wladimir Klitschko scored 4 official knockdowns in the fight, then had 1 point taken away. Harold, what's your final score?
Okay, Jim, I've got it 119, 104, 11 rounds for Wladimir, 1 round even because referee Louis Pabon took away a point in round 11. In other words, in simple English, I got it a shutout. You got to take away a point from, for the knockdown from Povetkin in round 2, and certainly the 3 knockdowns in round 7 gave him a 10-6 round. So 119, 104, Wladimir Klitschko.
Harold, who are the official judges?
Okay, Jim. The official judges, Glenn Feldman. He's from Connecticut. He's the president of the Connecticut Boxing Hall of Fame. He founded it, as a matter of fact. He was in a very, very controversial fight at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn when he had it 118-109 for Pablo Cizzacano over Paulie Malignaggi. Malignaggi won the fight. Ted Gimser from Chicago. His most notable fight, as you see, Felix Stern, Martin Murray. He had it for Martin Murray, which was the correct score. Most people thought Murray won the fight. Felipe Verbeek from Belgium. You see he had Povetkin over he scored a draw in Povetkin, Marco Huck. But be as it may, he works an awful lot for the European Boxing Union, and he's a pretty good judge. And Jim, I got to say a word about Louis Pabon. This is his second Wladimir Klitschko fight. He did work the Jean-Marc Mormet fight, and this was his third Alexander Povetkin fight. He worked Povetkin and Chris Bird, and he also worked Povetkin and Marco Huck.
One of those 3 official judges, Ted Gimsa, is wearing an electronic ankle bracelet because of convictions for DUI and gun violations in Illinois. Nevertheless, the governing body running the fight allowed him to come to Moscow, and a judge in Illinois allowed him to come to Moscow.
Let's hope he doesn't have to wear an ankle bracelet after this decision. That's the main thing. As long as the judges don't need ankle bracelets after the decision, I'm okay.
Great point. Photos with Povetkin as we await the official decision. And now here's Michael Buffer.
All 3 judges scored the contest 119 to 104 to the winner by unanimous decision from Kiev, Ukraine, still holding his full world title bout, still the heavyweight champion of the world, Dr. Steel Hammer, Wladimir Klitschko.
From Moscow, Russia to Orlando, Florida. 2 live fights still to come from the Amway Center here. Next up, Terrence Crawford, rapidly gaining recognition as one of the best 135-pounders in the sport, takes on Russian tough guy Andrei Klimov in a battle of unbeatens. Then Miguel Cotto, one of the biggest stars of his boxing generation, enters the ring for the first time with new coach Freddie Roach. Cotto will take on Delvin Rodriguez. Before we get on with the live boxing, let's take a look at what HBO has in store for you in the ring in the weeks and months ahead. HBO Boxing hits the road for an epic fall season ahead. First up, October 12 on HBO pay-per-view. The Desert Storm, Timothy Bradley, defends his welterweight belt.
What is Timothy Bradley made of?
Steel. Bradley faces legendary Mexican star Juan Manuel Marquez.
A sensational right-hand knockout by a bloodied Juan Manuel Marquez.
1 week later, an all-action matchup in Denver, Colorado, as the hometown hero Mike Alvarado faces off against the relentless Ruslan Provodnikov. Plus, it's the premiere of Legendary Nights, The Tale of Gaddy Ward, a documentary that chronicles the unforgettable trilogy between Arturo Gaddy and Mickey Ward, and their personal bond forged beyond the ring. October 25, it's the latest installment of my show, The Fight Game, as we continue to tackle the most important issues facing the world of boxing. November 2, from New York City, it's the return of undefeated knockout artist Gennady Golovkin. Body shot, good smackdown down, and that'll be the 14th consecutive knockout for Gennady Golovkin in his 4th fight this year. He'll put his middleweight title on the line against Brooklyn native Curtis Stevens. 1 week later, hard-punching Mikey Garcia moves up in weight to face 130-pound title holder Rocky Martinez. And the Filipino Flash Nonito Donaire looks to score another victory over Vic Tarchinian in their long-anticipated rematch. Also that night, it's the premiere of 24/7 Pacquiao Rios as they prepare for their upcoming showdown. November 16th, Andre Ward makes his long-awaited return to the ring after a 14-month layoff.
Ward just rocked Dawson again with another left hook.
The 168-pound champion defends his title against another undefeated American fighter, Edwin Rodriguez. And November 23, in Macau, China, global superstar Manny Pacquiao makes his highly anticipated return.
And there goes the knockdown.
While Brandon Bam Bam Rios looks to capitalize on his biggest opportunity.
Another right hand, rocks Alvarado. And referee steps in and stops it.
It's Pacquiao against Rios, live on HBO pay-per-view, November 23, from Macau, China. Don't miss a moment of the action. It's a very exciting next few months for HBO Boxing. For more information about the schedule and the fighters, go to HBO.com. And we're back live at ringside.